Welcome back to SSCI Insights, the virtual series where we take a deep dive into all things related to the CGF's Sustainable Supply Chain Initiative. My name is Madeline Vanderheyden, and today I am joined by Marie-Claude Quentin, Senior Technical Manager at the Global Food Safety Initiative, the sister benchmark to the SSCI at the Consumer Goods Forum. Marie-Claude, thanks so much for joining me today, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Madeline.
So Marie-Claude, let's just start off with the big picture. What is the GFSI and what do you do?
Yeah, so the Global Food Safety Initiative was set up 20 years ago to assess food safety certification program, or schemes, as you call them in SSCI. It was essentially created with the purpose of driving efficiency in the food industry and reducing the need for multiple and redundant audits by creating a system of equivalence between food safety schemes. So that's what we do at GFSI. We assess food safety certification schemes, and if they satisfy the set of criteria defined by the industry, they get GFSI recognized.
And so you've talked a little bit about how the GFSI came about, but can you tell us what are its core objectives?
The core objectives of GFSI is the harmonization of food safety outcomes certified sites, the ability of the industry to apply a one certified accepted everywhere principle, so removing the need for repetitive audits, and delivering safe food for consumers everywhere is our core purpose and ultimate purpose.
That's great, thank you. And Marie-Claude, the GFSI just celebrated 20 years of action and progress. You just celebrated your 20th birthday. So what are some milestones that you have celebrated over the past 2 decades? I'm curious to hear about the history of the GFSI.
Yeah, GFSI so created in 2000 actually, so that's how we remember how old we are every year. Initially, first key milestone, I guess, was to create the first set of requirements, which took a while in itself. And then there was a period of time where several issues were re-edited as we were practicing the benchmarking on the ground. In 2007, GFSI really took a big step forward where several of the bigger retailers in the world, we're talking Tesco, Walmart, Metro, Carrefour, Migros, Ahold, and Delays at the time, all signed up to the Global Food Safety Initiative and committed to accept one certificate from any of the GFSI recognized certification programs. That really got GFSI in a place of market lead in terms of certification. Fast forward, I think the next important step was version 7, when I just joined the Global Food Safety Initiative 5 years ago, where the benchmarking process changed significantly to improve its independence. And whereas in the past it had relied on members of GFSI to assess the schemes, 5 years ago, GFSI decided to appoint independent benchmark leaders who would be doing the assessment. And then the last key milestone we took was in 2020, where we initiated what we call the Race to the Top, which is a program of accelerating an improvement in food safety standards in the food industry through better certification standards. So they are the really 3 key milestones that are worth remembering.
Yeah, those were great. Thank you. It really sounds like the milestones that GFSI has been able to achieve really stem from the fact that you've been able to adapt and evolve as the food safety landscape continues to change. So I'm curious, what are some other factors that have contributed to the success of the GFSI?
The first one is definitely, Madeline, being able to adapt and reissuing the benchmarking requirements as the science told us that the food safety trends were changing and the practices of the food industry itself were changing. The second thing is keeping an eye on the final outcome, which is safe food for consumers everywhere. in the standardization world, it's very easy to think the job is done when the standard is written, but actually until you've checked that you have a positive impact on your final goal, for in our case food safety, you don't know if the job has been delivered. And so to continuously questioning whether we have the right impact has been very important for GFSI. And this is why the members have been really attached and engaged with GFSI, because they know that we keep our final purpose at the core of everything we do, which is food safety. The third one would be collaboration. For me, that we have been successful because we've been able to engage a rather large and diverse community to work together towards the same goal. And it's not always been easy, because within that community, you sometimes have diverging objectives or priorities. And so it's been a strength of GFSI over the years to continue mobilizing these people, most of them volunteering their time on top of their day job to advance the Global Food Safety Initiative.
Well, you definitely have a lot going for you to contribute to the success of the GFSI. And I just love what you said about collaboration and the importance of being able to keep the core objective at the center of what you do. And of course, that's safe food for everyone, as you said. But what are some other challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them? I'm sure there's been quite a few different moments over the past 20 years where it's been difficult. So what are the challenges?
Yeah. One of the more recent and rather significant challenge we faced was during the pandemic. We were unable to audit in the traditional way we've been doing for 20 years. And I'm sure SSCI would have faced similar challenges because we couldn't travel anywhere. Most of us were grounded at home, let alone in their own country. And in the world where we were used to go physically to sites to audit them, we found ourselves really challenged between making the right decision to maintain our outcome of food safety and the practicality on the ground, people not losing their certification, very often leading to risks on their business. Because many buying companies today make GFSI certification a prerequisite to business. And really what saved us throughout those troubled years have been, one, again, keeping an eye on the final outcome, making decisions based on the science and recognizing when you don't have the science. When a benchmarking organization, like GFSI, makes a change in their requirements, it has an impact on 140,000 businesses out there who are certified. And we can't just change our mind every 2 months, because this would be far too disruptive. In the case of remote auditing, we actually held our ground, saying there was no evidence that a robust audit could be done fully remotely, and we only allowed for part of the audit to be done remotely. Having said that, we also encourage the industry to maintain the business relationship with suppliers who might be struggling to maintain their certification by initiating alternative risk mitigation measures. So auditing and certification is one of the tools in a rather vast toolbox for the industry to manage risk. You can ask for additional records, you can ask for sampling in the case of food safety. So that balance of keeping an eye on the final outcome and the science and collaborating to find solutions to support everybody really saved us through those difficult couple of years, really. It's been difficult as well to find solutions when the impact felt really strong to some parties involved. So particularly commercial impact to the cost impacts. So another example that we faced was the debate around certifying a group of organizations and how big a sample we should take in that group of entities under the same certificates. And this is the balance between every time you increase the sample, you increase the cost of the audit. But if your sample is too small, you don't have a representative sample. And here again, very, very strong conversations with everybody involved. But again, you know, the science, eye on the outcome still saved us. So that would be really my two core recommendation to anybody who wants to set up benchmarking really for any topics really. Remember what we're here to do and base your decisions on the science.
Marie-Claude, I love that message. Remember what we're here to do. We must remember that there's a purpose to the benchmark, and it's definitely going to serve and benefit the industry when we use it. So with that in mind, actually, I'd really like to ask you about the SSCI, because the SSCI is only 4 years old. It's about to celebrate its 4th year anniversary of action and progress. And so what words of advice or words of wisdom do you have to share with companies that are working on the SSCI or schemes that are thinking about going through the benchmarking process, or any other stakeholders that have been involved with the SSCI?
Yes, I've worked in very close collaboration with my colleagues in SSCI. The CGF is not that big an organization, so we all know each other. And really, first word of wisdom, I'd expect SSCI being able to grow faster than GFSI did in its first year 20 years ago, because we have gained so much knowledge in cranking the wheel at GFSI. So this is why we shared all our processes, all the contracts, you know, the learnings, the pitfalls that we had at the beginning with the SSCI team. So just beware of this. You're going to be challenged on this, you're going to be challenged on that. Just plow through. Engagement and commitment from the members is absolutely critical, because there will be moments of doubts. We still have some at times in GFSI, 20 years on, we're making a big decision here. We need to be very, very confident in our decision. But if the members are here and supportive, then really there's not much you can fear. To the schemes, over time, the GFSI recognized certification program owners have reported benefits of being GFSI recognized. The main ones being, of course, the commercial recognition. So when you get to the stage where a rather large number of businesses who are significant buyers on the market require GFSI recognized certification as a prerequisite to business, of course, if a scheme is GFSI recognized, they will benefit because it's a value added to their clients. But the other benefits is that they welcome somebody coming in from time to time and challenging themselves, you know, challenging them in what they're doing and how they're doing things. And even though at times the conversation might be tense because we have very rigid expectations in terms of alignments to the requirements, over time, like many audited organizations, they see the benefits of a fresh pair of eyes coming in to scrutinize their operations and helping them grow. So it is a rewarding exercise for schemes too, not only commercially, but in terms of operational excellence, I would say. So it might feel a bit painful at the beginning because the requirements are very demanding and the process is quite lengthy. It's on average about 10 months to get initially recognized. It's got several steps and it's thorough, but it pays, and everybody's quite proud at the end of it, of that achievement.
Marie-Claude, thank you for that. It's a very clear message and a very important one at that, and one that we really share at the SSCI, because the industry created the SSCI and the industry knows that its value. And so when we consider schemes that are going through the benchmarking process, and when we are considering which ones are going to be recognized, we know that we're doing something that's very beneficial for the industry. And yes, it's true, it might be a complex process, might be a long one, but as you say, it is indeed very, very rewarding. So thank you very much for that and for those words of wisdom to our members and to our schemes. So Marie-Claude, that is my final question for you today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and we look forward to continuing to work closely with the GFSI as the Sustainable Supply Chain Initiative continues to grow and benchmark more schemes. So thanks so much, and I'll speak to you very soon.
It's been a pleasure, Madeline. I hope to continue helping the SSCI team as much as I have been so far.